conference dedicated to the future of telecommunications, a future enabled by innovation and applications. Jeffrey Hedberg is the acting CEO of Telkom South Africa. Recently appointed, his focus on training, leadership and charting new frontiers for the company will see Telkom positioning itself for the future. You've been recently appointed as the acting CEO of Telkom. What do you hope to bring to the business under your leadership?
Well, I think the first thing is obviously some clarity on where we need to focus our initiatives, try to ensure that we are driving those initiatives across 5 primary objectives. That's really around leadership and organization. It's about improving our EBITDA and our cash flow performance. It's looking at launching mobile, which is we're all very excited about. It's driving broadband. And finally, number 5 is to reposition the asset that has been purchased in Nigeria, Multilinks. Those would be the 5 things. So clarity, focus, and allocating our resources to those 5 initiatives to make sure that we turn this company around.
Let's talk about some of the key elements that you've mentioned right there. Broadly speaking, how is Telkom handling some of the challenges of telecommunications convergence as a business? How are you managing that?
I fortunately have had the opportunity to work before Telkom with Deutsche Telekom on both fixed and wireless, and before that with Swisscom, which is like Telkom in Switzerland, on both the fixed and wireless. So it's really about broadband, and it's not necessarily only fixed or DSL broadband, or it's not only about mobile or 3G or HSDPA broadband. It's really bringing those 2 initiatives together and driving broadband so that we can go to a home, a consumer, and say, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, here we can provide you with a laptop, we can provide you with a dongle with 3G, we can provide you with DSL, we can provide you with a number of things that you'll be able to do to have broadband connectivity at your home. On the business side, where we have quite a bit of success in the past, is really going to an enterprise and saying we can do your IPLCs, your international private lease circuits, we can do a number of your frame relay or data applications, as well as here's a wireless application for you and for your employees or for your customer.
Let's take a look at Telkom entering into the mobile space. Tell me about the exciting opportunities that the business is looking into there.
We've announced that we will be launching our mobile offering before the end of this year. The team's working very hard, both on the back end and getting the network and the IT systems ready, as well as on the front end, making sure that we have the right service, given what's been a very rigorous set of customer due diligence and segmentation and what we need to do there, and setting up a number of distribution channels as well. So we're very excited, we're working very hard, and I'm sure that we'll be able to provide something interesting and differentiated to the market.
Okay, looking broadly into the African continent, particularly in Nigeria, and you mentioned the multi-link strategy. What is your strategy with regards to operations there?
I think one of the things that we need to understand in Nigeria is that 100% of the markets for mobile communications, 90% of that is GSM. There are 4 operators there: MTN, Zain, soon to be Bharti, Glo, and Etisalat. And then the other 10% is CDMA, which is a different technology where Multilinks is part of it. You have Visaphone, you have Starcoms, you have Multilinks, you have another company called Zoom. So it's a very small piece of the business that we're active in. And what we need to do is reposition our way out of that business, or having it as the primary focus of the business, into an area where I think there are tremendous opportunities, and that's on the providing services to enterprise customers. Data services, connectivity, security around those data applications. Because in Nigeria, you have such scale and such growth that financial services companies, natural resource, oil and gas companies, retailers, ShopRite, as well as a number of other companies are going there, and what they need is bandwidth, connectivity, and security around that. And because within Nigeria there's not a real incumbent operator like a France Telecom in France or a Telecom Malaysia or even a Telkom here, we believe that with the 7,000 kilometers of network that we've put in place there, that there's a tremendous capability that we have to differentiate our services, certainly superior to what we're doing with a 2.6% share in CDMA wireless business.
As acting CEO of Telkom, how are you ensuring a return on investment in terms of what the company is outlaying in some of these projects, and also ensuring shareholder value in terms of that return?
I think we're looking very clearly, and I talked about it a little earlier today, is who are the customers, what are the requirements, how do we segment those customers, what are the products that we need, or the bundles or the services that they need or we need to provide, and what is the technology that we need to put in place in order to deliver those services to those customers. I think in the past there may have been, let's build it and then the customer will come. We're being very focused now on how we're allocating resources on the basis of customer requirements, the product life cycle or the roadmap, the technology life cycle or the roadmap, And with that, I think we'll be far more efficient in allocating our resources, which will then drive my number 2 objective, EBITDA and cash flow improvement, as well as return on investment. We need to focus on the things that are contributing to the business and stop doing the things that are not contributing.
Now, Ben Verwaayen is the CEO of Alcatel-Lucent, a global telecommunications company that sees Africa's potential in telecommunications as the next frontier. Well, let's talk about your business operations on the African continent. Where do you see growth areas in Africa when it comes to telecommunications?
Well, telecommunications is exploding, as everybody can see around them. It is one of those magnificent stories that you can see around. You see all of a sudden that people take communications and mix it with all kind of social agendas, business agendas, personal agendas. And I think it's taking off. It's taking off in a way that people didn't anticipate.
Do you see this sort of explosion across the African continent, or are there particular pockets of development and growth around Africa?
Always. And one of the issues that we have to deal with on a global basis, not just in Africa, is that if you look to people that are connected, it is a coastal thing. And every continent, every country has that issue about, but what about the rural areas? And I think that's a truly important thing here in Africa. If you look to connectivity, it's the key ingredient for economic development. And we need to find solutions, business model solutions and technology solutions, to go into the rural areas in a way that can help them to be connected in a way that has economic and social benefits. I think the good news is everybody is in agreement about the agenda. This is what we need to do. The not so good news is we haven't found a model yet in the industry how to do that in a way that is more than just a trial and error.
Sustainability is a really important part of the way you run your business and your personal philosophy. Sometimes, perhaps at loggerheads with telecommunications as a whole, how are you going to get the marriage right between the two?
Yeah, we're doing a very exciting thing which is called Green Touch, where we have taken the initiative to reduce the energy consumption by a factor of 1,000. Which is basically an idea that what you need today for one day to fuel the internets around the world will then last 3 years. And we do that together with our competitors, with our customers, with universities, and it's a really great project. Now, Africa would be one of the ideal labs in real life to go and explore where it will work and how it will work. Because you have vast areas where there's no infrastructure. You need to bring the infrastructure. But you cannot bring it in a way that is as energy consumptive as we have in the other parts of the world. You need to do it in a very different format. And I think we are a couple of years away from that. But it is on the horizon that we can do something that maybe even a couple of years back was impossible to even dream about.
As emerging markets go, why is Africa particularly attractive at this point in time?
Well, it's not attractive because it's a high-margin business, because it is not. Here's the interesting thing. People start from zero to the broadband era, and funny enough, they start from zero to a highly competitive environment at the same step. So that's very interesting. If you see, for example, that some of the operators are now using the Indian model to compete, the logical evolution that took place in the West is not certainly the thing that they're going to copy here. So it goes much faster. But the interesting thing is innovation local style, I think, will get a better chance because of the talent base, the youth of the population, and the hunger to get the information to much more people.
Let's talk about broadband connectivity across the continent. How are you hoping to deepen that, and how will a broadening of broadband assist your business in terms of its African footprint?
So for us, selfishly speaking, for Alcatel-Lucent, it's a great business because we are one of the leading guys when it comes to sea cables and that connectivity of the broad pipe, continent to continent. Now what? Now you have it in the harbor, where do you bring it? So you need an infrastructure that brings it to the hinterland and to the rural areas and to the other part. There are technologies that you can use, but the biggest headache is not the technical side, it is how do I get my investment back? So I make an investment, a huge investment, what business models do we have? And the old model that you just pay for voice will not work. So you need also innovation on what the business models are.
The 2010 Soccer World Cup was a huge success for South Africa, but very few people are aware of the huge IT infrastructure that was put in place behind the scenes to ensure a world-class event. I spoke to the Chief IT and Technology Officer of the 2010 FIFA World Cup, LOC. Now, Mr. Magole, your role during the 2010 Soccer World Cup was to oversee a budget nearly in excess of R1 billion when it came to technology and infrastructure, and ensuring that the World Cup went off without a glitch. How did you manage to combine the infrastructure and technology to ensure that South Africa produced a world-class Soccer World Cup?
I think what is important was that for this event, one had to take a business approach rather than a technology approach. The really thing that was very important, we knew what the end goal is all about. So you had to make sure that, in your budget, you apportion it and you allocate it such that it should be able to, to obtain the end goal. I think the reality is it wasn't much of a problem worrying about the capability, the technology capability. Technology is technology. And the reality is sometimes we forget that South Africa has got the technology capability. So we're not really coming from behind. But the key thing was just to make sure that the technology, we link it to the business sense and integrate it and make sure that it delivers what is required.
Coming up after the break, we discuss the changing landscape of telecoms and speak to the future bright young minds of the ICT industry.